What's up everyone, we're going to be going through the best NBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now don't forget to like this video as it does let me know to continue to give you free picks every day, so make sure to like this video clicking that button down below, and if we get 600 likes I will do another video for tomorrow. Now I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group, and as you guys see we actually got 20 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got 2 picks wrong, got 20 right, which is a 95% win rate. Yes guys, you heard that right, 95% win rate. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get a 95% win rate and get 20 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure you join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $950 just yesterday. Another member who won $230 for the 6th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description, so go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group, and I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. A quick shout to Charlie Chris 61 who said ready to cash, and shout out to 1 Mil Retro who said I need a dub. So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below on this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick, and when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to talk about is none other than Nick Clifford, and this one is for 11.5 points and rebounds, and this one is for more. Now you may have heard of Clifford before, maybe you haven't, but we do very much like this pick for the over. Now we have actually seen Clifford go on the over in 4 out of the last 5 games. Now looking at those 5 games, we see on December 19th faced off against Portland Trailblazers, actually had 10 points and rebounds there. December 21st faced off against Portland Trailblazers again off a back-to-back and had 17 points and rebounds in that matchup. Then had 12 points and rebounds against Houston Rockets on December 22nd. Then December 24th faced off against Detroit Pistons, had 16 points and rebounds in that matchup. Then 17 points and rebounds against Dallas Mavericks on December 28th. So we have definitely seen Clifford, as I mentioned, go on the over quite consistently, and even the times he has missed this line, he's only missed it by 1.5, so he's gotten very close, which is what we like to see. But coming into this matchup, we do also know when it comes to Clifford that his average over the last 5 is also 14.4, which is significantly above this line. Now looking at someone like Clifford and the Sacramento Kings, we find them in a very good matchup because they do face off against none other than the LA Lakers. So it is definitely going to be an exciting game between both of these teams. Now looking at where both of them do lie, starting off with Sacramento Kings, unfortunately Sacramento haven't gotten off to the greatest start to the season because they currently rank 14th in the Western Conference. Now they have a record of 8 wins, 23 losses, which is pretty tough, and on top of that they have a 25.8% win percentage there. They're also 5-10 from home, 3-13 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very interesting to see there. Now coming into this matchup, we do also know that Sacramento face off against the LA Lakers, where the LA Lakers do come in at the 5th spot in the Western Conference. Now they have a record of actually 19 wins and 10 losses. Now that's a 65.5% win percentage there, and on top of that they are 7-5 from home, 12-5 from away, and are currently on a 3-game losing streak. So yes, Lakers are a great team, but they have also struggled just a little bit as of lately as well. So it's definitely been pretty interesting to see there. Now coming into this matchup, however, we do also know, looking at Los Angeles Lakers defensively and looking at where they do rank, we do see Lakers do rank 18th when it comes to points allowed, allowing 117.4 points per game. So they do allow quite a lot of points, which is interesting to see there. Now looking at that matchup, we do also know, looking at where they do rank rebounding wise, we do see that the Lakers rank a little bit better as they rank second, allowing only 40.4 rebounds per game. So they've actually done a pretty good job in that sector. Obviously, they do a little bit better in that compared to points. Now, coming for someone like Clifford, we still do very much like the over for this situation here. And a big reason being is that when we actually look at Clifford, we do see that Lakers do a really poor job at restricting points, but also do a poor job at restricting rebounds to the guard position. So, since Clifford is a guard, we are definitely expecting him to be able to take advantage of this and go on the over there. He's also had quite a good usage rate, over the last couple of games, which is a very, very big thing for us, which is why we do very much like the over for this situation here for someone like Clifford. Now, looking at someone like Clifford as well, what we also do see when it comes to those last 5 games is that we do also know that LA Lakers do like to push the pace quite a lot. So do the Sacramento Kings. And we have seen Clifford be able to take advantage and do very well when it comes to against faster pace matchups. So that's what we are expecting here, because as we've always mentioned, faster pace games lead to more volume, and more volume leads to more opportunity to score and rebound for this sake. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the over for it. Now, looking at someone like Clifford when it actually comes to, what the pros actually do have to say. Now, they have him for 12.5 while we have him for 11.5. So it actually is a little bit in our favor there, because we do see that the bookies actually agree with us even at 12.5, that the over is actually more favored to happen, which is why we do very, very much like the over for this situation here. So we are agreeing with what the bookies are saying. But the fact that we have it at 11.5 and the bookies have it at 12 and still on the over, it definitely just does give that extra bit of confidence to us. Now, projection-wise, we do see a little bit of a different story. Projections is actually expected to go in the under, so we are going a little bit against the projections here, but are agreeing with the bookies. And when we look at his last 15, yes, he has struggled in some games for sure. But when it comes to someone like Clifford, he's definitely taken on a little bit of a different role as of lately, and you do have to look at those recent games to really get a full picture of what's going on, due to the fact that Sacramento have experienced some injuries and also some different changes in their roster. That has definitely led to Clifford getting more minutes, more usage rate all in total. So that's why coming into this next one, we do very much like the over for someone like Clifford here. Nick Clifford for 12.5 points and rebounds, 4 more, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about none other than Quinton Post, and this one is for 13.5 points and rebounds, and this one is for more. Now, looking at Quinton Post, we actually have seen him go on the over in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, we see on December 15th, faced off against Portland Trailblazers, actually had 12 points and rebounds there. December 19th, faced off against Phoenix Suns, had 20 points and rebounds. Then 11 points and rebounds against Phoenix on December 21st. Then December 23rd, faced off against Orlando, had 20 points and rebounds there. Then 9 points and rebounds against Dallas Mavericks on December 26th. So it definitely has been pretty interesting for someone like Quinton Post coming into, these last 5 games. We have seen him go on the over, as I mentioned, in 2 out of the last 5, and his average over the last 5 is still 14.4. So significantly on the over here. Now, looking at Quinton Post and the Golden State Warriors, they have themselves a really good matchup against none other than the Toronto Raptors. So it is definitely going to be an exciting game between both of these teams. Now, looking at where both of these teams do lie, starting off with Warriors. Warriors come in at the 8th spot in the Western Conference. They have a record of 16 wins, 15 losses. That's a 51.6% win percentage there. They're also 10-4 from actually home, 6-11 from away, and are currently on a 3-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see. Golden State Warriors have definitely struggled a little bit, but they have been able to find somewhat of a groove, and they find themselves still in a playoff position for sure. Now, looking at this matchup, however, as I mentioned, they face off against Toronto, where Toronto Raptors come in at the 5th spot in the Eastern Conference, and they have a record of 18 wins and 14 losses. So that's a 56.3% win percentage there. They're also 8-7 from home, 10-7 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak there. So really, really interesting to see. Now, looking at the Raptors, we have definitely seen them, do a very good job. I think a lot of people weren't actually expecting the Raptors to be in this position, but they've been able to show out, and because of that, they are finding themselves in the 5th spot. Now, looking at this one, We do very much like the over for someone like Quinton Post, but looking at where Toronto Raptors do rank when it comes to points and rebounds allowed. Starting off with points allowed, we see that Toronto Raptors do rank 5th, only allowing 112.5 points per game. So they don't allow a lot of points. On top of that, they face off, as I mentioned, against Toronto, where Toronto Raptors, do also rank when it comes to rebounds, also rank somewhat a little bit worse, but still very decent as they only allow 43.7 rebounds and rank 13th. So why do we like the over for this situation? And a big reason being is that when we actually look on a per position basis, we see a very, very different story. Toronto Raptors do actually struggle at restricting points, rebounds, and also assists to the center position. When it comes to Toronto, yes, they have great bigs, but I do believe that their game plan has always been to stop wings, stop guards as much as possible. And because of that, it's definitely led to a lot more presence from big men in other teams. So Toronto have definitely struggled all season against big men. And for someone like Quinton Post, who definitely does have a consistent usage rate, we definitely still see him going on the over here. Now, when we look at also this matchup between both of these teams, Golden State Warriors and Toronto, we are expecting a pretty fast-paced game to some extent. Obviously, both these teams do like to play fast, and as we've always mentioned, faster pace leads to more volume, and more volume leads to more opportunity to score, rebound, and play make. So that's why coming into this matchup, we do very, very much like the over for this one. We definitely see someone like Quinton Post going on the over, as we have seen him be able to take advantage of poorly defensive teams time and time again. Now, looking at actually Quinton Post and what the pros do have to say about it. So obviously we have him for points and rebounds. Now, this is pretty similar to the last one because we have Quinton Post for 13.5, but this one has him for 14.5. So it is a little bit different in that sense. Line is different. So obviously the bookies, we can't really compare that well to. But looking at also the projections, they do have him projected for 11.9 points and rebounds. So they actually have him expected for the under, while we have him expected for the over. And we are going a little bit against the grain here and going on the over in this one. Now, we have seen him actually do a pretty decent job over the last 15 games. He has pretty much a even average going on the over in 46% of those games. So it's nearly a 50-50. It really does come down to the matchup for someone like Quinton Post, as we've seen time and time again. He does a lot better against easier matchups, especially to the center position. And for someone like Quinton Post, we are expecting that as Toronto do a poor job at his position. So we should see Post be able to take advantage of that for sure. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the over for this one. So Quinton Post for actually 13.5 points and rebounds for more, I think is a fantastic pick. All right, so getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Tobias Harris. So Tobias Harris, great player, and this one is for 12.5 points, and this one actually is for more. Now, looking at Tobias Harris, we have seen him go on the over in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, you see on December 19th, faced off against Dallas, had 0 points there. Then December 21st, faced off against Charlotte, had 16 points in that matchup. December 23rd, faced off against Portland again, had 12 points in that matchup. Then December 24th, faced off against Sacramento, had 24 points there. Then 16 points against Utah Jazz on December 27th. So, very interesting to see. Obviously, looking at Tobias Harris, we have seen him go on the over, as I mentioned, in 3 out of the last 5 games. And his average over the last 5 is also 13.6, which is significantly on the over for this one. Now, looking at someone like Tobias and Detroit Pistons, they have themselves a really good matchup against the LA Clippers. Now, looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with Detroit Pistons. Detroit have had themselves a very good season as they come in at the 1st spot in the Eastern Conference. They have a record of 24 wins, 7 losses. That's a 77.4% win percentage there. And on top of that are 12-2 from home, 11-5 from away, and are currently on a 1-game losing streak. So, very interesting to see there. Now they face off against the LA Clippers. As we mentioned, LA Clippers have definitely, struggled as well during this season because the Clippers come in at the 13th spot in the actual Western Conference. Now they have a record of 9 wins, 21 losses. And on top of that, we also do know when it comes to Clippers, they have a 30% win percentage there, 5-8 from home, 4-13 from away, and are currently on a 3-game win streak. So Clippers have definitely tried to, continue continue to push and continue to do great, but it's definitely been a little bit of a struggle for him for sure. Now, looking at this matchup, we do also see when it comes to, LA Clippers and where they do rank points wise, we do see points allowed. LA Clippers do rank 13th when it comes to points allowed, allowing 115.3 points per game. So although people have been kind of sleeping on Clippers due to the fact that they do rank low, they still do very good job at restricting points in general. And on top of that, we also do see that the Clippers do a fantastic job at restricting points to the forward position as well, which is why we do very, very much like the over for this one. Now, for someone like Tobias, we have seen him be a big asset for this team for sure, but we have also seen his consistency in shooting has been very high. Even some of the times he has missed it, he's only missed it by 0.5, which I think is really good. That game against Dallas, he did get 0, but that was a little bit of an outlier game. When you look at the other 4, you start to see a bigger picture on Tobias Harris and his usage rate and how it does remain very high even against tougher, easier matchups. It doesn't matter, but with a matchup like against LA Clippers, we still do very much like the over, as Clippers do struggle at restricting points to his position. So we definitely see Tobias going on the over here. Now, looking at the actual line, they have him for 13.5, which is pretty interesting because obviously Tobias on PrizePicks has him for 12.5. So a little bit of difference there, which makes the bookies or what the bookies have to say a little bit different in that sense. But we have seen him go on the over quite a significant amount of times, 7 out of the last 15, with 46% of them going on the over. So that is pretty good. It is pretty much almost a 50-50. Definitely not quite it just yet, but they've definitely still done a great job and have solidified themselves or solidified himself, for being a great asset for this team to score with, to rebound, all those different things. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the over for this situation here for someone like Tobias Harris coming into this game. Although we are focusing more on points than anything else, we do also see that the projections do have him for the over as well at 14.6, which definitely helps out in our argument there. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the over for this one for someone like Tobias. So Tobias Harris, 12.5 points for more, I think is a fantastic pick. So getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Jaren Jackson Jr. So Jaren Jackson, great player, as we all know, from none other than Memphis Grizzlies. And this one is for 1.5 block shots, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at actually Jaren Jackson, we have seen him go on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at those 5 games, you see on December 18th, faced off against Minnesota, had 3 block shots there. December 21st, faced off against Washington, had 0 block shots there. Then 1 block shot against Oklahoma City Thunder on December 23rd. Then December 24th, faced off against Utah Jazz, actually had 3 block shots in that matchup. Then also December 27th, faced off against Milwaukee Bucks and had 5 block shots in that matchup. So we have seen Jaren Jackson Jr. go on the under, as I mentioned, in 2 out of the last 5. But his average over the last 5 is also 2.4. So he's definitely done a great job from the block sector department. Now, when we look at Memphis Grizzlies, we do see that they are matched up against Washington Wizards. Now, looking at where both of these teams do lie, starting off with actually the Memphis Grizzlies. Grizzlies have definitely put up a fight, but they currently find themselves out of the playoff picture as they currently rank 9th in the Western Conference and have a record of 15 wins, 16 losses. That's a 48.4% win percentage there. And on top of that, are 7-8 from home, 8-8 from away, and are currently on a 2-game win streak, ranking 14th when it comes to the Eastern Conference. Now, they have a record of 6 wins, 23 losses, a 20.7% win percentage there. They're also 3-10 from home, 3-13 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very, very interesting to see there. Now, looking at someone like like Jaren Jackson, we have definitely seen him do a great job, but they face off against a Wizards team that do rank, starting off when it comes to block shots. We do actually see that Washington Wizards do surprisingly rank, when it comes to this category, they rank 27th, actually allowing a 5.8 block shots per game. So they do allow quite a lot of blocks. Now, when we look at block attempts allowed, we do see a little bit of a different story in some sense, as we do see that the Memphis Grizzlies are also in a pretty sticky situation as they rank 15th, only allowing actually, from my memory here, actually only 4.9 block attempts per game. So however, we do very much like the under for this situation for someone like Jaren Jackson Jr. because as we've seen, we also do know when it comes to actually the matchup, which is against Washington Wizards, we do also see that, Memphis do run Jaren Jackson at that big man, whether it's power forward, whether it's center, and we do actually see that Jaren Jackson does a pretty, poor job at actually blocking shots due to that. So, for that reason, we are definitely liking the under for it. We do see Washington doing a great job at restricting big men from getting those, blocks, getting the team hyped and all those different things. We are expecting this team to actually kind of just float around and hit those three balls when they can and try to stay out of the paint as much as they can for sure. Especially, for someone like Jaren Jackson Jr., who is a great defensive player and also has a huge role in that Memphis team. So coming into this next one, we do very much like the under for it. Now looking at Jaren Jackson Jr., we do also see points wise, it is a little bit different and in some cases, but we are looking also at blocks more specifically. Now looking at blocks, we do see 1.5. And we do see that, the unders bookies rating is 144, which I think is pretty good there. Now, when we look at the projection is a little bit off in a sense that it is going off, prime sort of historical data. But looking at this game, looking at the matchup and what has been going on, we should definitely see Jaren Jackson Jr. come on the court, but unfortunately go on the under in this one. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for the under. When we look at the last 15, matches, we do also see that Jaren Jackson Jr. just hasn't really been performing. Injuries, all these different things, getting or taken out early, which has definitely affected his confidence, but has also affected his game greatly. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for the under for this one. So Jaren Jackson Jr. actually 1.5 blocks per game, I think is actually for the under here. So for that reason, definitely keep an eye out for the under. So let's get into the next pick, and the next pick we're going to be talking about is none other than Alex Sarr, and this one is actually for rebounds and assist for actually 10.5, and this one also is for more. Now looking at Alex Sarr, we have actually seen him go on the over in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now looking at those 5 games, we see on November 29th faced off against Indiana Pacers, actually had 10 rebounds and assists there. Then December 19th faced off against San Antonio Spurs, had 7 rebounds and assists. December 21st faced off against Memphis Grizzlies, had 13 rebounds and assists. Then December 24th faced off against Charlotte Hornets, had 12 rebounds and assists. Then December 27th faced off against Toronto Raptors and had 5 rebounds and assists there. So it has been definitely very interesting for actually Alex Sarr as over the last 5 games. Now his average over the last 5 is 9.4, so it isn't that much off, but he definitely has, or it is definitely slightly below his line. Now, looking at Washington Wizards, they find themselves in a very good matchup against the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, looking at where both these teams do lie, starting off with actually, Washington Wizards, we do actually see that Washington do come in at the actual 14th spot in the Eastern Conference. They have a record of 6 wins and 23 losses. That's a 20.7% win percentage there. On top of that, they are 3-10 from home, 3-13 from away, and are currently on a 1-game win streak. So very interesting to see there. Obviously, looking at someone like Alex Sarr, he's tried or done his best for this team, but it definitely has still put them in a position where they haven't really been the best team out there. Now, looking at Washington Wizards and their matchup, they face off against Memphis Grizzlies, where Grizzlies have also struggled just a little bit so far this season because they find themselves in the 9th spot in the Western Conference. They have a record of 15 wins and 16 losses. That's a 48.4% win percentage there. 7-8 from home, 8-8 from away, and are currently on a 2-game win streak. So very interesting to see there. Obviously, looking at Alex Sarr, we have seen him be a big asset for this team, but they face off against a Grizzlies team that do rank a little bit better than them. Now, looking at where Grizzlies do rank when it comes to rebounds and assists. Now, looking at assists, we do actually see that, Memphis Grizzlies do rank first coming off of assists allowed. We see that they rank 12th, allowing 26.3 assists per game. And then rebounds allowed, we do see that the Grizzlies rank a little bit worse as they rank 17th, allowing 44.6 rebounds per game. So they actually do very much struggle at actually restricting rebounds. Now, obviously, they are a bit better in assists, but overall, what we have actually seen is that Memphis Grizzlies do actually struggle at restricting rebounds and assists to the center position. For that reason, we are definitely expecting the actual, over for this situation here for someone like Alex Sarr, due to the fact that when it comes to Memphis Grizzlies, they have struggled time and time again, at, being a very good defensive team in rebounds and assists to the center position. So we are definitely expecting Sarr to be able to take advantage of this, and definitely some good sort of evidence for that is that we actually did see a most recent game where they faced off against Memphis on December 21st, and we saw Alex Sarr actually go on the over there. So we are expecting a similar sort of situation, similar sort of outcome coming into this matchup for sure. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the over for this one for someone like Alex Sarr coming into this game. Now, when we actually look at also, the pace of this matchup between Memphis and Washington, we are expecting a pretty fast-paced game here. We have seen time and time again when it comes to this matchup, we have actually seen that, as we've always mentioned, Memphis like to push the pace, so do Washington. So as we've always mentioned before, faster pace leads to more volume, and more volume leads to more opportunity to score, rebound, and playmake. But for this case, we are just looking at rebounding and playmaking for sure. Now, looking at actually Alex Sarr and looking at what the pros do have to say, obviously we have him for rebs and assists. And looking at where the actual pros do rank him, they have him at 11.5 while we have him at 10.5. So it is a little bit different there. Now, obviously, looking at this, the line is a little bit different, so it is really hard to go off what the bookies are saying. However, the projection is technically for the over. Okay, they do have him projected for 10.6. Now, it does say under here because the line they have is 11.5 while we have it for 10.5. So 10.6 would technically be on the over here. Now, that's definitely, just a little bit of a projection. Obviously, these are all taken with a grain of salt, but as we've always mentioned, we do like to look at historical data, and looking at their most recent matchup against Memphis and what he was able to do there, we are just expecting sort of a similar sort of outcome coming into this next game for sure. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for the over for someone like Alex Sarr coming into this game. See a lot of value there to go on the over. So Alex Sarr, 10.5 rebounds and assists, 4 more, I think is a fantastic pick.